$127,000 in back fees for a house you inherited yesterday. Pay up, or we torch it for insurance fraud. That's the message I got standing on my own dock, the sun barely up, with the smell of gasoline hanging in the mist like an unspoken threat. Celeste Ravencraftoft in a blinding fuchsia suit, pointing back at the mansion my grandfather built. You want to talk about a wake-up call? Try hearing you inherited a house and a six-figure debt from a man who saved half this town, and now, apparently, you're one bad check away from losing it all or watching it burn. Ma'am, there must be some mistake. Those were the first words out of my mouth, and the last ounce of naivete I had left. She just smiled, cold as lake ice in February, and said, "No mistake, Mr. Whitfield. Your family owes the Pinehurst Homeowners Association exactly $127,000, dating back to 1987. Theodore never paid. You inherit debt with property." That voice. Let me tell you, there's a frequency that can cut through bone and tell you you're in real danger. The numbers didn't make sense. 37 years, $285 a month, all supposedly for services nobody ever saw. Theodore Whitfield, my grandfather, died a legend here. 43 families owe their lives to the fact he wouldn't let a crumbling dam or a lazy city council kill the place he called home. He was up every night that spring, watching water levels, running calculations. When the city brushed him off, he just grabbed a bullhorn, pounded on doors himself, and got everyone out before the flood hit. The whole valley went underwater, but the only thing that drowned was a bunch of empty houses. The hero of Pinehurst, they called him, right up until power found a way to rewrite the story. So, back up with me for a second, because none of this started with threats and gasoline. 2 weeks before that showdown on the dock, I was just Judge Garrison Whitfield, Federal Appeals Court, 7th Circuit. Yeah, that's the guy who fixes the messes other judges make, untangles the law when politics gets in the way, and if you think you're above the law, make sure you learn different. I got the call from Theodore's estate lawyer. The house, the land, the trust fund, all mine, if I wanted to take on the memories, too. Sarah, my wife, had loved that place, but I hadn't set foot there since her funeral. Walking through those empty rooms, it felt like coming home and getting hit by a truck all at once. Theodore left me more than a mansion, 47 acres of lakefront, enough paperwork to choke a horse, and boxes of his engineering notes, survey maps, and community records. It's like he knew someone would need them one day. That's where I first found Celeste's name. Letters, city memos, always pushing back against dam repairs, always worrying about property values, not people. I found notes in the margins, conflicts of interest, shell companies, warnings nobody wanted to hear. And then, just as the sun was going down on a Thursday, headlights cut across the porch, and out stepped Celeste herself. She looked every inch the power broker, striding into my house like she owned it, her heels clicking out a countdown. "Mr. Whitfield, we need to discuss your family's outstanding obligations." She laid out the paperwork, an itemized bill for $127,463, a lien filed just days after Theodore died, and a payment agreement that read like a ransom note. I started asking questions. Why now? Why so much? How come none of this showed up when the estate settled? She didn't blink. Legal dormancy doesn't eliminate debt obligations, Mr. Whitfield. It only delays collection activities. I spent that night combing through her documents, cross-checking every signature against the ones in Theodore's files. The original 1974 HOA formation looked legit, but everything after, amendments, assessment increases, management transfers, all screamed forgery. And every page had one name in common, Ravencraftoft. This wasn't about neighborhood dues. This was about stealing homes with paperwork. The next morning, Anastasia knocked. Celeste's daughter, clipboard in hand, eyes full of nerves she tried to hide. She was the good cop, to her mother's heavy. She wanted my records for the board. Did I have proof Theodore paid for his own maintenance? I did, 40 years of it. And when I asked if she knew my grandfather, her face changed. "He saved my family during the dam disaster," she whispered. "Told us to evacuate. My mother doesn't like to talk about it." That's when I realized these people owed everything to the man they were trying to rob. Over the next days, Anastasia became my inside line. She showed me the HOA's books, payments from dead property owners, contracts with phantom companies, shell corporations snapping up foreclosed homes at pennies on the dollar. 7 properties had already gone this way. The kicker? Judge Blackthorne, Celeste's husband, was the one greasing the legal skids for every shady deal. The only thing standing between them and an $800 million resort project was Theodore's house, my house now. I told Anastasia what this meant. Your family's running a federal fraud operation. That's prison time, unless you help me blow the whistle. She was scared, but in the end, she did the right thing. She handed over everything. Financial records, emails, insurance claims, evidence that tied Celeste and Judge Blackthorne to a decade of theft. The real bombshell? Theodore's own engineering survey showed the dam. The excuse for all those fees hadn't been fixed at all. The money went straight to their pockets. I called the FBI. Turns out, they'd already opened a file when Theodore sent in his last report. They needed someone on the inside, someone to get the final nail. That's where I came in, federal judge or not. I put on a wire and played along with Celeste. Monday morning, she came with backup, 2 goons in suits, ready to make sure I cooperated. She gave me one last chance to pay up or lose everything. I pressed her on the fake fees, the services never rendered, the legal games her husband played. Her mask slipped. She threatened foreclosure, demolition, emergency remediation. She as much as said, pay or watch it all burn. After she left, I called the FBI. They said, we need her to cross the line. Can you stall? That night, Anastasia showed up with the real reason they wanted the house. A glossy resort proposal that needed every inch of North Shore property. My refusal was all that stood between them and a billion-dollar payday. Then, Celeste called again, late at night, voice full of venom. Accidents happen to houses that aren't properly maintained, Mr. Whitfield. That was it. The FBI moved in. Arrest warrants, raids at dawn. The whole town watching as the Ravencraftoft empire crumbled. Except Celeste was gone. She'd skipped out before the agents arrived, leaving behind a suitcase full of matches. I was packing my car when the smoke started. Gasoline, electrical fire, call it what you want, but it was arson, plain and simple. Celeste watched from the road, thinking she'd won, thinking 40 years of records and a man's legacy would go up in flames. But she didn't count on the fire trucks the FBI had stationed just out of sight, or the fact that I was walking straight toward her, wires still live, as news helicopters circled overhead. We had the whole exchange recorded, her threats, her denials, her outrage when I told her Judge Blackthorne was already under arrest. FBI agents closed in. Cameras caught every second, and just like that, the woman who'd spent a decade robbing families in a fuchsia suit was in handcuffs, heading for federal prison. 3 weeks later, I put on my robes, banged the gavel, and watched Celeste realize the judge she tried to extort was the judge who'd decide her sentence. 23 years. Restitution. The end of a scheme that stole homes, wrecked lives, and nearly destroyed a community. The best part? The Whitfield Legal Center now sits in that mansion, restored from the fire, a place where nobody's getting bullied by fake fees ever again. Anastasia leads the board. The families get their homes back. The dam finally got the repairs Theodore begged for. And every morning, I drink my coffee on the porch, remembering a man who taught me water always finds its level in justice, if you're patient and a little stubborn, flows right to where it's needed most. But here's what I want to know. If you found out your HOA was stealing homes, would you fight back in court or blow the whole thing open for the world to see? Drop your answer below. And if you've got your own story about standing up to bullies, share it. I promise, justice flows further when we all refuse to stay quiet.